Jessica arrives at an abandoned town to film a documentary. Can you count the number of vampires in this field? 9. Jessica approaches the local mansion. Can you count the vampires around this place? 0. We only showed you 7 ghosts. Jessica enters the mansion and meets Albus. His age today is 3 times what it will be in 3 years from now, minus 3 times what his age was 3 years ago. How old is Albus? Let's say that his current age is X. Then, the following equation will help to figure out the answer. So, Albus is only 18. Albus hosts a party and invites Jessica. The party goes well, and Jessica makes a lot of interesting videos. But suddenly, the lights turn off for 20 seconds. When the power is back again, Jessica sees that someone has stolen her expensive video camera. Albus questions 3 suspects. Casimir says, "I was eating when the lights turned off. Luckily, I managed to grab the last strawberry cupcake at this party." Morgana says, "I didn't touch her gadgets. I was dancing with Bastian when the lights turned off." Bastian says, "I only came to this party to see Morgana. I didn't look at other women or their things." Who's lying? Casimir. There's a bunch of strawberry cupcakes on the table, so he didn't grab the last one. Jessica checks her phone and sees something really odd. Can you spot a mistake? Wi-Fi and airplane mode can't be active at the same time. Angelina, Karen, Margot, and Sandra have a musical jazz band. They arrive at the party to perform at a concert. But just before the beginning, everyone realizes that Karen had disappeared. Albus finds her locked up in the basement of his mansion. "It was dark, so I didn't notice who locked me in." Can you guess who did that? Angelina. Her outfit was okay when they arrived, but she tore off the sequins from the dress because she got caught on the iron door when she locked Karen. Albus shows Jessica his home office and offers a game. "If you can manage to open my safe, I'll give you all the money I'm hiding inside." Can you help Jessica figure out the code? Take a look at the dice in these 2 paintings. It's a clue. The code is 6324. Albus points at these 2 women and tells Jessica, "Meet my wife, Nina." Can you guess which lady is Nina? His wife is the maid. She's wearing a ring while the red-haired lady isn't. Jessica arrives back at her office, but she can't unlock the corporate computer. Someone changed the 10-letter password and left this clue. Can you figure out the new code? The clue is a rebus, so the password is accelerate. Jessica meets 3 guys online. Later, she visits their places to show how they live. Which guys should Jessica start dating? Magnus has wedding portraits all over the room, so he's married. And Leo seems to be a criminal, so she should choose Nick. Early in the morning, Jessica receives a call from her coworker, Tyler. "Jess, please come as soon as possible. I've just arrived at work. Someone robbed us. It's a huge mess. They even trashed the furniture." Jessica comes to the office and studies the crime scene. Tyler says, "Look, they stole all the documents and expensive video cameras from this locker. But I've got the only key. That means the robber broke the lock. I bet it was one of your new employees, Jill and Dan. I think they work for another company undercover. What do you think?" Jessica replies, "I doubt it. You'd better tell me why you're trying to frame those guys." Why did Jessica think that Tyler is lying? The locker was locked when she arrived. Tyler has the only key. If Jill or Dan had broken the locker, they wouldn't be able to lock it back up. Jessica was invited to an elite billiard room. She finds the entrance, but the door is locked. She needs to enter a 5-digit code. Can you help her figure out the password? Take a look at the poster on the door. It shows 4 numbered billiard balls organized in a row. These numbers are the password: 8, 15, 3, 4. Jessica is watching the news. A mysterious thief keeps on robbing people in Paris. He sneaks into hotels and steals jewelry and cash from tourists. "Oh no, I'm going on a business trip to Paris tomorrow. I should be careful." The next day, Jessica lands in Paris. She arrives 3 hours before the meeting and decides to check in first. She arrives at her hotel and meets a lonely manager in the lobby. Jessica says, "Room number 505, please." "Of course, let me show you in, miss." Jessica immediately realizes that this guy is the thief from the news. How did she guess? It's a 3-story hotel. There can't be a room 505 in the building. Jessica met Francois online, and today they're finally meeting offline. They go out on a date in a cute Parisian restaurant. Everything's going great. Francois is a smart and handsome guy with a good sense of humor. The waiter brings the desserts. Suddenly, Jessica jumps up and runs away from the restaurant. Why did she run away? Jessica saw Francois's face in the news. He's a runaway criminal. Jessica enters the local gift shop. The owner complains, "Someone stole the goods from my shop. About 10 items disappear from the shelves every week. The staff members have no idea who the thief is." Jessica offers the shop owner to investigate this case. She watches the CCTV footage and identifies who's guilty right away. What about you? Can you spot the thief? It's this lady. She put the stolen goods in her bag. Jessica goes to the local haunted house to film a documentary. She takes 3 friends with her: Louis, Madeline, and Pierre. No one ever dared to enter this house because of creepy rumors. But the guys decided to check it out and see for themselves. They enter the living room and click some Polaroids. They take a good look at the images, freak out, and run away from the mansion. Only 4 people walked inside the mansion. All 4 are standing in this picture. If they're here, who took this shot? A ghost? Jessica finds a puppy on the street and brings it to the nearest vet clinic. The puppy only had a collar with its name, but no information about its owner. After a while, 3 people arrive at the clinic. Each begins to insist that he's the only owner of this puppy. The doctor calls the police and they interview each of them. Clark says,
I was so scared. I called the animal shelters in this city, but they didn't know where Fluffy was.
Oliver says,
I was walking the dog in the park. I turned my back for just a minute and he was gone. I have no idea why he ran away.
And Sam says, Honey, I bought a new bone for you. Come over here. Who's the real owner of this puppy? Take a look at the puppy's collar. Its name is Toby, but Clark called him Fluffy. And Sam is trying to lure the puppy with a bone. So the real owner is Oliver. Jessica is visiting a speed dating event. She talks to 3 guys. Each tells her a couple of facts about himself. Pierre says, I'm an artist. I've just signed a contract to paint a wall in the local co-working space. I've never been in a serious relationship, but now I'd like to find a muse and settle down with her. Jacques says, I'm a writer. I used to be married, but she moved abroad. And now my work is my only girlfriend. And Glenn says, I run my own restaurant. I'd like to find a soulmate to cook delicious meals for her every day. Who should Jessica choose? Pierre clearly wore a wedding ring. There's a tan line on his ring finger, so he's a liar. Take a closer look at Jacques. His nails are too sharp and his legs are very hairy. It's a full moon, so he's probably a werewolf. It's not safe to date a beast, so Jessica should choose Glenn and enjoy his cuisine. Detective Smith was called to a house to investigate a burglary. Mr. Brooke claimed that someone had broken into his place and stolen his expensive watch. When the detective arrived, he saw that the front door was open and there was muddy footprints leading to the living room. He also noticed that there was some mud on the staircase. After looking around the house, Detective Smith quickly figured out who the thief was. He went upstairs and arrested Mr. Brooks' son. Why did he do that? The detective noticed that no footprints were leading out of the house, indicating that the thief was still inside. 4 friends went out for lunch. Take a look at the image and try to guess which person is the richest. It's the one on the right. The first person has a fake iPhone, so they can't be it. Then the one next to them has ripped shoes, which means she can't afford new ones. The third friend has an empty wallet. She's probably going to ask some friend to pay her part of the bill. And the fourth one has multiple black credit cards, which means they're the richest. Freddy went to the castle near his house to return a lost cat. He was greeted by an old man that invited him in. But once he stepped inside, the old man turned into an evil magician that trapped Freddy inside the castle. Then the evil magician said,
If you manage to complete 3 tasks I give you, I'll let you go home. Otherwise, you'll be stuck here forever. Here's the first task. Help me find my glasses amongst all these vegetables.
Can you help Freddy? Here they are, right next to the pumpkin. For the next task, Freddy had to make a potion, and the ingredients should be added in the right order. The magician gave Freddy a piece of paper with the recipe written on it. Can you help Freddy make the potion? You got to follow the colors of the cauldrons. So first of all, you need to add curry, so the potion will turn yellow. Then you add some blueberries, and it will turn green. And finally, add some tomatoes to make the potion look brown. Well done, Freddy! Freddy's third task is to find a book in this messy room. Can you do it? It's sitting right here behind the floor lamp. Congrats, you just helped to free Freddy. Tuesday, Sam and Peter went to a restaurant for dinner. After eating, the bill was paid. But Sam and Peter did not pay the bill. Who paid the bill for them? Their friend, Tuesday. I didn't see that one coming. Atlas woke up in the attic of an abandoned house. He tried to find a way out of the house, but all he could do was find a room with 3 doors. Each door hid a different danger. The windows and floor behind the first door were made entirely of magnifying glass, which meant that the sunlight would probably burn him if he entered. The second door hid a room full of poisonous gases. And behind the third door, there was a hungry lion. What should Atlas do to escape? He should wait until it's nighttime and use the first door. Sydney told her mom that her gymnastics team would go to a sports camp for the weekend. She asked her mom to help her pack for the trip. Her mother packed everything she thought her daughter would need. When Sydney came back from the weekend, she was telling her mother all about the trip. But somewhere during the conversation, she asked her mother why she hadn't packed a toothbrush. The mother immediately knew Sydney was lying about where they had really been that weekend. How? Because Sydney's mother did pack a toothbrush, but she put it under Sydney's gymnastics clothes. If Sydney had really gone to that camp, she would have used the clothes and found the toothbrush. Kimberly discovered 3 bags in an old attic along with a note. The note said that there was $1 million inside one of the bags. It also said that the 2 other bags were empty. She only had one chance to figure out which bag had the cash. Kim knew that only one of the messages written on the bags was true. On the first bag, it said, "The cash is not here." On the second bag, it was written, "The cash is not here." The last bag read, "The cash is in the second bag." If you were Kimberly, which bag would you choose? You should choose the first bag. If only one of the clues is true, then the money is in the first bag. Becca had just arrived from a 2-week trip to Egypt. During her trip, she bought a beautiful emerald and wanted to show it to some of her friends. She decided to throw a party just for her closest friends. The next day, she noticed that the emerald was gone. Becca immediately decided to call a detective to help her find the thief. She showed him some of the pictures she had taken the night before. The detective took a quick look and already had a pretty good idea of who had done it. Take a look at these pictures. How did the detective find the culprit? Look at that girl wearing a hat. At 1 a.m., her hat is flat, but at 2 a.m., her hat suddenly turned pointy, weirdly imitating the shape of an emerald. It must have been her. It's a rainy evening, and Dylan is driving back home. He passes through a bus stop where 3 people ask him for a ride. Dylan only has 1 seat in his car to offer, but he really wants to help all of those people. There's an old lady that looks very cold. There's a doctor who claims he needs to get to the hospital for a quick appointment. And a woman that Dylan has a crush on. What's the best arrangement Dylan can make to help everyone? Dylan could lend his car to the doctor so that he could drive the old lady home. Dylan could wait at the bus stop with the girl he has a crush on until the doctor comes back and gives him his car back. Susan found out that her favorite pop band was playing a private concert for VIP clients in a luxurious club. She decided to sneak inside the club through the backyard. But unfortunately, Susan faced a strict guard behind the door. He refused to let her inside without a password. But luckily for her, there was a hint in the guard's t-shirt. The hint was 2, infinity, plus BD. Susan deciphered the hint and was allowed in the concert. Can you guess what the password was? It was to infinity and beyond. One afternoon, Nicole found her father, Frank, in the living room, really worried about an anonymous text he had gotten. Frank was a private investigator, and he had just received a message revealing the address of the town's most dangerous criminal, Dirty Jack. He decided to go check the area, even if he didn't know what the criminal looked like. The address turned out to be an old warehouse, and when he busted inside, he found 4 people sitting at a table playing poker. The 4 people were a carpenter, a truck driver, a mechanic, and a fireman. Without any hesitation or communication, Frank arrested the fireman. How did he know that he was a criminal? The fireman was the only male in the room. The rest of the poker players were women. Bobby and Rachel decided to go grab a cup of coffee. But when their orders arrived, Bobby's coffee came with a fly inside of it. He called the waiter and asked him to change his cup. The waiter brought another cup of coffee, but 2 seconds later, Bobby called the waiter again and said, "Hey, that's the same cup." How did he know? Because Bobby had already put sugar in his coffee, and when he tasted the liquid inside the new cup, it already had sugar inside. It was Valentine's Day, and Nicole wanted to put a little present in the locker of the student she had a crush on. Unfortunately, she didn't know the code. Luckily for her, the owner of the locker was forgetful too, so there was a note with a hint. Can you figure out the combination? Each number is the number of lines in the respective letter. There is just 1 line in I, 4 lines in M, 3 in H, and 2 in T. So, following the same logic, there are 4 lines in E, 2 in L, 2 in V, and 3 in Z. So the combination is 4, 2, 2, 3. Okay, here's another code for you to crack. This time, you need to help Eric. He wants to get his wife a nice Valentine's Day gift, but he is absolutely clueless about what she wants. So, the plan is to break into her computer, check her shopping cart, and get something from there. The problem is that the computer requires a passcode, and the man doesn't know it. Luckily, there's a note on the desk, so he types in 6198. But the passcode is wrong. Can you figure out what the correct passcode is? The note is just turned upside down. Eric should try typing in 8619 instead. Kennedy works in the emergency room. It's Valentine's Day and there's a patient who felt unwell during a college party. Kennedy leaves the room because she needs to talk to the patient's girlfriend. She was at the party with him. Which young woman should she approach? Who is the guy's date? Keep in mind that the couple was at a party, so they must be dressed nicely. The patient's date is most likely this woman in a pretty dress. Now, let's do some exercises to train your eyes. Here's a bunch of hearts. Can you find one broken heart? Yes, here it is. Good job. The task is similar, but not quite. Now there are many hearts and a few broken hearts. How many broken hearts are there? There are 5 broken hearts here. Have you found them all? Kelsey came to an antique store to get some presents for her boyfriend for Valentine's Day. She needed a baseball cap for him, an antique pocket watch, and a toy car from the 1920s. Can you help her find all these items for her boyfriend? Here's the cap, here's the watch, and here's the car. Have you spotted them all? Mark, the boyfriend, is getting presents for Kelsey in the same antique store. He needs to find a pretty cup, an antique mirror, and a beautiful photo album. He needs some help too, so keep your eyes wide open. Do you see all these items? Here they all are. 1, 2, and 3. Great job! It's a Valentine's Day party, and Melody, the most popular girl in school, is hosting it. 4 best friends are standing together, and one of them is Melody's boyfriend.
Oh, yeah.
You ask them who the boyfriend is, and here's what they say. The first guy says, "The fourth one is the boyfriend." The second guy says, "It's me." The third one claims, "No, it's the first guy." And the fourth one says,
No, it's actually me.
if only the boyfriend tells the truth and the other guys lie, who is Melody's boyfriend? Only the boyfriend tells the truth, so he will say, "I'm the boyfriend." So it's either the second guy or the fourth one. But if the boyfriend is the fourth guy, then the first one is telling the truth too. So, Melody's boyfriend is the second guy.
What about the warehouse? Can you spot any ghosts here? Hello? Let's take a look at the bedroom. Ooh, there are 5 ghosts. Can someone call Ghostbusters? The next morning, Marjorie goes picking apples on her farm. Suddenly, someone spills cherry juice on her head. She noticed that someone climbed on a tree to pull that prank, but she didn't see this person's face. So Marjorie interrogates 3 people working on the farm that day. Frank says, "I was watering vegetables far away from the apple trees." Phil says, "I was in the kitchen preparing ingredients for the lemon jam production, just like you asked me." And Nina says, "I was in the garden picking lemons for the jam." Marjorie figures out who did it right away. What about you? It was Phil. He tore his shirt and a piece of fabric got stuck on the branch of an apple tree. A group of tourists arrives at the farm and Marjorie gives them a fun tour. Unfortunately, one of these guests is a thief. Can you guess who? This lady. She is sneaking cash from another person's purse. It's raining heavily all day, so Marjorie stays home alone and fries pancakes in the kitchen. Suddenly, she realizes that she had forgotten to switch off the TV in the living room and goes there. In a minute, Marjorie returns to the kitchen and gets speechless. Why? Can you guess? When Marjorie left the kitchen, one prepared pancake was on the dish. But now it's gone. All the windows are locked. So, who did it? Suddenly, Marjorie hears weird sounds from the basement. She goes there and finds the thieves. A family of raccoons broke into her house and sneaked the pancake. Can you count the exact number of animals in the basement? The task was to count the number of all animals, so the correct answer is 7. There are 4 raccoons, 1 cat, and 2 rats. The next day, Marjorie goes into her sunflower field to check how the flowers are doing. Can you spot what's odd here? There's a socket built into the ground. Marjorie goes to Megan's birthday party. One of the guests has the number 2 written on his forehead, and the other has 3. Megan offers everyone a game. All 3 of you have a number on your forehead. The number on one of your foreheads is the sum of the other numbers. All the numbers are unique. Now, you can't talk to each other. If you guess your number correctly, you won't have to wash dishes. So, can you guess Marjorie's number? It could either be 1 or 5, but if her number was 1, the guy with 3 would see that and guess his own number. Therefore, Marjorie has the number 5 on her forehead. The next day, Marjorie enters the farm's main barn. It's time to plant flowers in larger pots. She takes off her diamond ring to protect it from dirt. Marjorie puts it on the table. The process is almost finished, but suddenly Marjorie's phone rings and she leaves the barn to answer the call. After a while, she comes back and sees that the ring is missing. There are only 3 people on the farm today: Frank, Nina, and Megan. So Marjorie says, "One of you has taken my ring. What were you doing when I left the barn?" Frank replies, "I was in the bathroom washing pumpkins with Nina." Nina replies, "Yes, we were washing the vegetables." And Megan says, "I was just taking selfies with pumpkins. Who took the ring?" Look at this bird cage. It was opened. The canary bird flew out and took the ring. There are 3 sets of lab equipment on Marjorie's table. Can you sort the odd one out? This one doesn't have a flame. Marjorie throws a harvest festival at her farm. Her friends and coworkers chill all together. Can you spot any zombies among them? This dancer in the bushes doesn't look alive. As evening came, bright stars and a new moon showed up in the sky. Now Marjorie has to choose one of these 3 tunnels to escape. There's a family of creepy werewolves hanging out inside the first tunnel. The second tunnel is a home for mutant bats. They feed on humans and stay awake 24/7. And there is an unknown monster hiding in the third tunnel. Unknown because no one had ever returned from there alive to tell. Which tunnel is more or less safe to enter? Marjorie should choose the first tunnel. It's a new moon, so the werewolves are not dangerous yet.
Detective Smith was called to investigate a burglary at the city's museum. A priceless diamond disappeared and the thief left no trace behind. After analyzing the museum's security cameras, Detective Smith gathered 3 suspects: the security guard, the museum's curator, and a visitor. The security guard said he only left his post during lunchtime, and he could swear that the diamond still wasn't missing at that time. The museum curator spent the day guiding a tour of the museum for a foreign group. They came to see the diamond at the beginning of the tour, and it was still shining bright in its place. The visitors said he only popped in for a quick visit and didn't even pass through the Metzi aisle where the diamond was kept. After these 3 interviews, Detective Smith found the thief. Can you tell who it was? It was the visitor. First of all, he knew the exact location of the diamond inside the museum. Plus, take a look at that string he is fiddling with in his left hand. Detective Smith pulled it from under his sleeve and voila! The diamond was attached to it. I guess he didn't have time to go home and get rid of the diamond, huh? Julie and her friends decided to spend the weekend at a cabin in the woods. They arrived on Friday evening and spent the night playing board games and telling spooky stories. When they woke up on Saturday morning, they found that someone had stolen all their food supply. The door's glass was shattered, but other than that, there were no signs of who could have done it. So, the group decided to search the surrounding woods to see if they could find the culprit. Take a good look at the scene the group stumbled upon, and see if you can find out who took their food. What's that at the upper left corner? Those look like bare footprints, huh? And not just one, but rather an entire family of bears. Oh, and they even left an Oreo wrapper on the ground as evidence. Yep, these grizzlies were the culprits for sure. On a snowy winter afternoon, Dr. Brown was resting in front of the fireplace. Suddenly, somebody threw a snowball at his window. The hit was so strong that the glass shattered. Dr. Brown stood up just in time to see 3 neighborhood boys running away. They were brothers with the names John Smith, Mark Smith, and Dave Smith. The next day, a paper note was left on Dr. Brown's door. There it was written, "Smith, he threw the snowball." Dr. Brown immediately knew which brother had done it. Can you figure it out too? It was Mark. You see, the note said, "Question Mark Smith. He threw the snowball." But the boys were clever and put a bar instead to test Dr. Brown's detective abilities. A man carrying 2 bags of sand crosses Genovia's border every day on a bicycle. Every time, customs officers stop and search him to see if he's trying to smuggle anything illegal. But the officers can't find any proof that the man is a smuggler. The man laughs and crosses the border successfully, smuggling an item per trip. Can you figure out what he's smuggling? That's easy. He's a bicycle smuggler. He distracts the guards with 2 bags of sand. But every day he is crossing the Genovian border with a new bicycle. Smart guy, huh? Mrs. Pinkface is the world's fastest robber. She works alongside the criminal mastermind Zebra Mask. But Mrs. Pinkface was recently caught and put in jail. She and her partner in crime had already set up a plan in case this happened. Zebra Mask will pass outside the prison fence and send Pinkface a signal. 45 seconds after the signal, he will turn off the electric fence, giving her a few seconds to make her prison break. The thing is, Pinkface doesn't have a clock. She only has a lighter and 2 fuses. The fuses are flammable, and she knows they both burn for precisely 1 minute. They won't burn evenly, so if she cuts them in half, one side might burn for 40 seconds, while the other burns for 20 seconds. How can Pinkface use the fuses to time exactly 45 seconds and make her unique prison break? Here's the key insight. If Pinkface lights the same fuse on both ends simultaneously, it will burn out in precisely 30 seconds. To time the last 15 seconds, she will have to light the second fuse. She can light both ends of the first fuse at the same time to time 30 seconds and light the end of the second fuse. When the first fuse burns out, she'll know 30 seconds of the second fuse is also burnt. So, by lighting the other end of the second fuse, she'll be able to time 45 seconds and make her jailbreak. You just came back from a long holiday trip. You bought a new suitcase to store all the new things you got. But when arriving home, you forgot the code to open it. Luckily, you left yourself a note on your cell phone to help you decipher the code of the lock. 682. 1 digit is right and in its place. 614. One digit is right but in the wrong place. 206. Two digits are right but both are in the wrong place. 768. All digits are wrong. 380. One digit is right but in the wrong place. What's the 3-digit code? (042). Friday morning started busy in Somerville. The police station got a call saying that a woman had just robbed a bank and was seen entering Sunset Elementary School. The police chief hurried over to the school and found there were 2 teachers present that morning. He immediately knew which teacher was the thief. Can you tell who it was? Take a look at the second teacher's long-sleeve shirt. It has a little bit of cash peeking out of it. She's most certainly the thief. The Apex 18 space station called NASA's headquarters to report a crime. On a recent mission, astronauts recovered a valuable piece of evidence that could prove there was life on Mars. Andy, the mission chief, said he put the piece of rock inside a safe located in the storage room. The next morning, he went to the storage room to put on his astronaut suit and noticed that the safe was open. And oh no, the rock was missing. NASA conducted an online investigation to find out who the thief was. Paula said she wasn't feeling well the day before, so she spent the day in her room. James said he spent the previous day fixing a broken solar panel outside the spaceship and didn't see anything. Rebecca spent the previous 24 hours talking to NASA's Space Center to resolve a problem. Can you tell who is lying? It's James. If he went outside to check on solar panels, he first needed to go into the storage room to put on his spacesuit. Plus, there's a rock-shaped item in his left pocket. He must be the culprit. Tuesday morning, Amy got a call from her boss, Tom. He was in distress because a very important document had disappeared from his office. It had been on the desk the evening before, but nowhere to be found in the morning. Amy immediately went there to question the employees. She soon gathered 3 suspects. Elijah said he had spent the previous evening at the movies. Mason had taken his girlfriend to dinner, and Evelyn had visited an art gallery. It didn't take long for Amy to understand who was lying. Why? It was Elijah. Take a close look at his ticket. The date is for Sunday and not the night before. This means he's probably the one lying. Peter was lost in the woods when he encountered an evil magician. The magician cast a spell on him that transported Peter to an empty room inside a huge tower. To make things worse, the evil sorcerer put the tower on fire. The room Peter was in had no doors and only a small window. Thankfully, he found 3 magic potions that could maybe help him escape. If he drank the first potion, he would get incredible physical strength. If he chose the second potion, he could summon any animal he wanted to help him. And if he drank the last potion, he would turn into a vampire. Which potion should Peter choose? Well, no animal could help him escape the tower, and even if he had all the strength in the world, he wouldn't be able to beat the fire. But if he turned into a vampire, then he could transform into a bat and fly away through the little window. So the third bottle it is. Katie got lost in the desert. She walked for hours when suddenly she came across a huge oasis. But to reach the main waterfall, where she could drink some water, she had to cross a bridge. There were 3 bridges leading to the same place. The first bridge was far from the ground, and its rope looked like it could rip at any second. The second bridge had some hungry-looking alligators crawling on it. The last bridge stood above a lake full of poisonous water plants. Which bridge should she choose? The last one. The bridge stands above a poisonous lake, but she won't touch the water when crossing it. Rupert was working in his office when a huge power shortage turned off all the lights in the building. He heard footsteps approaching behind him, and the next thing he knew, he was feeling dizzy. Rupert passed out and woke up in a tiny room that had nothing other than a metallic door. He tried to open the door, but it was locked. He noticed that beside the door, there was a little device where a red sign appeared, asking for a password. Below the device, there was a piece of paper with the following hint: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Rupert read the note aloud several times before he finally figured out what the password was. Can you guess what password he typed into the device? He typed in 1 time the number 2, 3 times the number 4, 5 times the number 6, and 7 times the number 8. Phew, that wasn't obvious, huh? Bill and Jonah found themselves stuck inside the cavern of the Great Genie. There was nothing there but a wall with 3 buttons. There was a red button, a yellow one, and a green. Somewhere on the floor, they found a note that read, TDUPT RNOREHEBSSTE. They clicked one of the buttons and managed to open a hidden door on the wall. Which button did they choose? The red button. They unscrambled the words on the note and discovered it read, "Press the red button." Miss Taylor is the owner of a boutique that produces and sells expensive ceramics. On a Friday, when the working week was almost finished, she went to deposit the day's money inside the safe and was shocked to find out it was all gone. Someone had stolen it. Miss Taylor suspected it should have been one of her workers. She asked each one of them what they had been doing that day. Sloane, a sales manager, said she had been prospecting for new clients. Jake, the potter, said he always made 1 cup a day, and he showed all the cups he had done that week. Lily, the designer, said she had been working, but she also admitted she hadn't been really productive that day because of some family issues. Who lied? Jake. There are 5 working days in a regular week. The man said he made 1 mug a day, but he only showed 4 mugs. It means he missed 1 day of work. Probably the day he used to steal Miss Taylor's money. Crows are flying in the sky, 1 ahead and 2 behind, 1 behind and 2 ahead, 1 between 2 and 3 in a row. Can you figure out the exact number of crows? Three. They're moving one after another. Barista needs to fill 2 sacks with coffee from another sack of a similar size. Can you figure out how to do it? Easy. Put the empty bags into one another and then fill them with coffee. 2 mothers and 2 daughters enter a coffee shop and order 3 cappuccinos. Each gets 1. How's that possible? They are a grandmother, a daughter, and a granddaughter. Can you write a number that consists of 11 thousands, 11 hundreds, and 11 digits? Many people think it will be 111,111, but in fact, it's 12,111. Rachel's computer gets broken, but she has to do urgent work, so she decides to use her husband's laptop instead. But unfortunately, he has changed the password. Luckily, Rachel finds a note with a clue nearby, SBDIFM. She enters the code, but it doesn't work. Can you help her crack the password? To solve this puzzle, Rachel needs to change each letter with the previous letter in the alphabet. S implies R, B implies A, D should be replaced with C, and so on. And the final password is Rachel. Oh, so cute. Peter, Jenny, and Timothy are trapped in 3 separate cages. Peter's cell has an explosive in it. Jenny's cage is filled with toxic gas. And Timothy's cell is covered with ice. Can you guess who has more chances to survive? Timothy. It's just ice, so it's gonna be melting soon. Timothy won't have time to freeze. Yeah. Gerald is 100 years and a few months old, but he only had 25 birthdays in his entire life. How could this be? The man was born on February 29th, so his birthday only takes place once every 4 years. The police find out that several criminals are going to leave the city by train this morning. Security guards at the railway station detain 4 suspicious people and examine their baggage. Can you help them figure out who's innocent? This guy carries toothpaste without a toothbrush. Oh. A supposedly blind person carries a flashlight. Oh. And why would a bald man need a bottle of shampoo? Ooh. It seems only the guy on the left isn't a criminal. Birds sat 1 on each tree. One didn't have a place. But when they sat 2 on each, 1 tree was left free. Can you figure out the number of birds and trees? Four birds and 3 trees. A farmer has 350 oranges. The challenge is to divide them into 3 piles so that one pile would be 4 times smaller than the largest one, and another pile 2 times smaller than the largest one. How many apples would be in each pile? Zero. The farmer has 350 oranges, not apples. David invites his friends to spend a weekend at his house. They come along and have tons of fun. Unfortunately, a terrible storm starts the day before they have to leave. It's pouring with rain, and strong winds are breaking trees, tearing down power lines, and causing power outages all over the place. The next morning, the weather gets better. But David discovers that his gold watch is missing. It was a very expensive gift from his grandpa. David asks all his friends just one question. I can't find one thing that's very important to me. Can you tell me what you were doing yesterday? Monica says, I spent most of the day in my room studying. Mike says, I was practicing my electric guitar in the garage. And Mia says, I don't even know what your watch looks like. After hearing their answers, David knows for sure who's lying. Can you figure it out? There was a power outage. It means Mike couldn't play the electric guitar. Also, David said nothing about the important thing being a watch. So how did Mia know it? Therefore, Mike and Mia stole the watch. Can you create a square by moving just one matchstick? You need to think outside the box to crack this puzzle. Here's the solution. This square is tiny, but it still matches the task. Rob runs a restaurant. He has 4 barrels of excellent kombucha. He's saving them for the upcoming anniversary party, which will start in 24 hours. Rob enters the storage room and sees a note near the barrels. Oh. It says, I put a magic spell on one of the barrels. Anyone who drinks kombucha from it will turn into a mermaid in 10 hours. Good luck. Luckily, Rob has one friend, Shelly, who's dreaming to be a mermaid. Yes! Rob decides to test the kombucha on her before the party starts. Can you figure out a way to check 4 barrels in 24 hours? Rob should give Shelly kombucha from the first barrel right away. Then the second barrel's kombucha 1 hour later, and the third drink 2 hours later. If Shelly turns into a mermaid in 10 hours, it means that the first barrel is under the spell. If she changes in 11 hours, it's the second barrel to blame. And if she becomes a mermaid in 12 hours, it's the third barrel. But if Shelly stays the same, The fourth barrel is enchanted. A computer store manager calls the police and yells, "Help me! My store has been robbed!" The officers arrive at the place immediately, but they can't see anyone. Suddenly, they hear someone banging on the door in the corner of the store. They unlock it and see an anxious lady. It's the manager. "Someone locked me in the storage room. It must be one of the shop assistants." The police officers ask the lady to call her employees for interrogation. The manager says, "Just a second, I can't find my phone." "Oh, it's over here." She didn't even start to call before the officers arrested her. Why? She was locked in the room, and the phone was lying on a counter. How could she call the police? Where does Friday actually come before Thursday? Take your time to think it over. Friday always comes before Thursday in the dictionary. Nina sneaks out of the house late in the evening to meet her secret boyfriend. She thinks that she's very careful and quiet, but all of Nina's roommates know about her plan. Also, they know that Nina will return at midnight. They decide to make a bet. The one who would notice Nina first, when she starts climbing the fence, would be the winner. This person would be free from chores for 1 month. To avoid falling asleep, Bella switches on her favorite series. Nora goes to the kitchen to make snacks for everyone. Wendy takes a seat in the living room with a book. And finally, Kelly goes to her bedroom and starts meditating. Who's going to be the first to spot Nina when the time comes? Kelly. Her eyes will be used to the darkness and she will see better than the others. Lily is a cool pastry chef. She's been working hard in the kitchen all night to create a special wedding cake. Finally, it's ready.
Yeah.
Lily puts it in the fridge and goes outdoors to take a break. 15 minutes later, she returns and nearly faints. Some monster had ruined her masterpiece. Lily questions 3 suspects. Diana, the barista, says, "I opened the fridge an hour ago to grab a new carton of soy milk. Your cake was fine." Paul, the bakery's manager, says, "I didn't touch the cake. I was talking on the phone with our clients." And Will, the janitor, says, "I entered the kitchen 5 minutes ago and noticed some chocolate on the floor near the fridge. I opened it and saw the broken cake, but it wasn't me." Who's lying? Diana. An hour ago, the cake wasn't finished yet, so she just couldn't see it in the fridge. Mary parks her car near her favorite store. Can you see anything weird here? Take a look at the reflection in the window. The color of her car doesn't match reality. A small town hosts a winter festival with an ice sculpture competition. The top 3 sculptures made it to the final. The party goes well and everyone has fun. Oh no, someone has sprinkled the sculptures with salt. They're losing their shape and falling apart. The local sheriff interrogates 3 suspects. Brian says, "I didn't do it, I was too busy building a snowman." Gemma says, "I was far from the sculptures taking selfies with my granny near the dining area. See for yourself if you don't believe me." And Dan says, "I believe it was Brian. The winning sculpture was created by his ex-girlfriend. They don't get along." After hearing what they had to say, the sheriff knows for sure who's guilty. What about you? Take a look at Gemma's selfies with Granny. There's a large salt shaker on the table in the first picture. And in the second selfie, the very same salt shaker is absent. It's hidden in Gemma's jacket pocket. She sneaked the salt and ruined the sculptures. Amy is visiting an unfamiliar city. She sees 4 magical creatures in this area and freaks out. Can you see them too? Take a look at this tree. It's a wood goblin. There's a transparent lizard crawling up the skyscraper. Also, there's a leprechaun hiding in the flower bushes. And there's a pixie driving this taxi. Diana returns home from work and discovers that someone had broken her antique teapot in the kitchen.
What?
She gets furious and interrogates 3 suspects. The housemaid says, "I was cleaning the 2nd floor all day long. I didn't even enter the kitchen today." The gardener says, "I was picking lilies in the garden in the morning. I only entered the kitchen once to put fresh flowers in the vase. The teapot was fine." And the cook says, "I was preparing dinner in the kitchen. And then I went to the bathroom to take off my uniform. When I returned back to the kitchen, the teapot was already broken." Who is lying? The gardener. Take a look at the flowers in the vase. They don't look fresh at all. Bob used to be a farmer in another country. He kept chickens. Things were going well and he made good money. But then he bought a bigger farm in another country and moved there. Soon Bob got to know that floods are very frequent in this area. But he didn't give up and decided to breed ducks instead of chickens. Why? Ducks can swim, so floods aren't so dangerous for them. Here are 3 matches.
Oh, really?
Can you make a 6 out of them without breaking them into pieces? Who said the number has to be standard 6? The matches make a perfect Roman numeral 3, so all you have to do is bring the bottoms of the first 2 matches towards each other, and you've got a Roman numeral 6. You have 2 sand hourglasses, a 7-minute one and an 11-minute one. Using just these 2 sand hourglasses, how can you measure 15 minutes? Step 1. Start both hourglasses at the same moment. Step 2. Wait until the 7-minute hourglass times out. 7 minutes have passed. Let's move on to step 3. Restart the 7-minute hourglass. At this time, 11-minute hourglass will have 4 minutes left to time out. As soon as the 11-minute glass times out, invert the 7-minute hourglass. At this point, 11 minutes have passed. After inverting the 7-minute hourglass, it will now have 4 minutes left for timeout. After these 4 minutes are out, the total time will be 15 minutes.